Hi everyone, I hope you're all having a good day and I hope you all enjoyed this audio. If you want any extensions, etc., even when it comes to NSFW extensions, make sure you join my Patreon to get all that exclusive content. Other than that though, please like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know whenever I upload. Comment your thoughts down below. This will be a reading. I'm horrible at reading out loud, but I thought I would try do some form of a soothing reading for you guys, and I hope that you all enjoy it. If you guys want to support your girl, all support would be more appreciated. And the GoFundMe rather than, the donations and stuff. GoFundMe is better if you want to focus on that right now, you guys. Other than that, it's all appreciated. Commissions at home. You know the drill. Other than that, have a great day. I love you guys so much and enjoy the audio. Oh, hi. I was getting a little worried that you were running a little late. It's not a problem. I would have waited. Of course I would have waited. I did promise you I'd help you, right? So, not to be a bit annoying, but do you mind putting your phone away? Well, we are currently in a library, and it would do you some good to just de-stress and get away from that thing. Do you prefer paper, like a book, or do you prefer the computers? I do not mind. Personally, I love reading. I love everything about books. I've always loved poetry, which is what I'm helping you study with, surprisingly. Well, I noticed you were running a little behind, and I understand sometimes it can be really hard to understand the meaning behind poetry, as it's very what's the word? Cryptic, I believe is the word. I think. I don't quite remember. Sorry, it's been a long day, but sometimes you have to draw out the meaning you believe it to be, you know? Everyone draws their own meaning and conclusions when analysing poetry, so I suppose there's never truly a wrong answer. It's how it makes you feel, how it talks to you, and I think that's kind of why I love poetry so much. You don't have to feel like you're always wrong, you know? Not at all. I don't mind. So, obviously our course is Emily Dickinson. Have you ever read any of her work before? Well, luckily for you, I assumed as much. So, I got us a little bit of everything. Well, this is Selected Poems and Letters of Emily Dickinson by Robert N. Linscott. I believe I pronounced that right. But yes. We'll get into the introduction. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. I know we don't have too long, but just a little light reading, just to ease ourselves into it. I won't stress you out too much. Trust me, we have a long time together to get through this, but it's okay. It's only one of the books. We can switch it out from time to time if you wish. Oh, you're completely welcome to go at it alone. Sorry. It's coming into allergy season. It's been a pain in my arse, honestly. Well, as I said, you're completely free to go at it alone. So sometimes I have a little tendency to like to highlight certain things to kind of analyze a bit more. Normally I have multiple markers, but they're kind of hard to find here. I could only find yellow, so I just decided to mark out each poetry rather than, or poem rather than the letters. I prefer being able to flick through and find the poetry quite easily rather than trying to read everything again. You know what I mean? I've had this a while. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've never really been the best at teaching. Thank you for being patient with me. That's all I ask, not much. I suppose. I don't think that's much. Anyways, let's get to work, shall we? If it ever gets a little too much, just ask me to slow it down and I will. Okay, so let's get started. Emily Dickinson was born December 10th, 1830, in a New England where Puritanism was dying and literature was just coming to life. Her birthplace was Amherst, a quiet village in the Connecticut Valley of Massachusetts, nearly 100 miles from Concord or Cambridge in space. And at least half that number of years in time, here she lived a life outwardly uneventful, inwardly... Sorry, the lighting isn't very good anyhow, I won't lie. Inwardly dedicated to a secret and self-imposed assignment, the mission of writing a letter to the world. That would express in poems of absolute truth and of the utmost economy her concepts of life and death, of love and nature, and of what Henry James called the landscape of our souls. I'm going to warn you now, I am absolutely horrible at reading out loud. Do forgive me. Yes, I don't know, it's actually the first time I've ever really read out loud. Well, I get a little bit stuttery, I suppose you could say. I've always been quite used to being alone, I suppose. Okay, let's get into it again. Unpublished in her lifetime, unknown at her death, in 1886, her poems By Chance and Good Fortune reached at least the world to which they had been addressed. In quotes, If fame belonged to me, she had written in 1862. Oh, are you following along? Good. If you get a little lost along the way, just don't mind to let me know, okay? Written in 1862. I could not escape her. If she did not, the longest day would pass me on the chase. Sorry, I lost place. The chase and the prohibition of my dog would forsake me. The long day passed. The fame was finally hers. Fame not only for her poetry, but for her personal history. From her family, Emily had loved without understanding her father, leading lawyer of the village, and in later life, treasurer of treasurer of Amherst College and member of the legislature. I can't pronounce it. Legislator. I can't pronounce it. Oh no. And of Congress. Okay. Dominated the household. His heart was pure and terrible, Emily wrote after his death in 1874. I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to butcher this, but I am simply very stutterish, I suppose. And I think no other like it exists. Her gentle, colorless mother lived in his shadow. Austin, the only son, patterned himself on his father, but lacked the formality, self-righteousness, and the old Puritan Lavinia crotchety and outspoken, was watchdog and protector of her shy, sensitive, and sometimes rebellious sister. The family lived in a brick mansion set in spacious grounds on Amherst Main Street, and neither sister ever married. After 2 years at Amherst Academy and 1 at Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, Emily Dickinson settled down to the customary life of a New England village. Many years later, a school friend remembered her as not beautiful yet. She had great beauties. Her eyes were lovely auburn, soft and warm. Her hair lay in rings of the same colours all over her head, and her skin and teeth were fine. She had a demure manner which brightened easily into fun where she felt at home, but among strangers she was rather shy, silent, and even deprecating. She was exquisitely neat and careful in her dress, and always had flowers about her. She was one of the wits of the school, and there were no signs in her life and character of the future recluse. Into her life during these years came 2 young men who may have had some slight influence on her career. Leonard Humphrey, principal of Amherst Academy, and Benjamin F. Newton, a law student in her father's office. Both stimulated her interest in books. Newton encouraged her to write. Both died young, were remembered in the lines, "I never lost as much but twice, and that was in the sod. Twice I had stood a beggar before the door of God." Now, this is the first poem that we come into. Does that make you feel anything whatsoever? Or can you tell me how you analyse her work? Well, think about it. I never lost as much but twice, and that was in the sod. Twice I have stood a beggar, before the door of God. What does that make you feel? What does it make you think? Well, think about it. We've all lost somebody. We've all had our heart broken. We've all had stories cut off too soon. We've all had heartbreak. Well, to me personally, when I analyse it, think about what she wrote before, or what the author had wrote before on her behalf. He specifically spoke about a man named Newton. I believe Newton, or Benjamin, was actually someone she was in love with, that she met, and the other person as well. But think about the lines, "I never lost as much but twice." She lost 2 people very dear to her. They were taken away from her life. And then the line of "twice I have stood a beggar before the door of God," as if she was begging to God for him to save and revive these men, to not take them away so soon, to keep them there with her a little longer, so she could learn more and so she could hold them, not have to say goodbye so fast, so sudden, for more time. I mean, if you think about it, that is what we all really want. Just a bit more time. You know what I mean? Well, I always seen and analysed it as that. I mean, if you see it as something different, I'd love to hear it. That is quite interesting. But it is very sorrowful, if you think about it. Kind of breaks your heart. I mean, back then, if you think about it, in our generation, in our days, these type of illnesses could have been fixed and could have been helped, but she was helpless for something that could have been possibly quite easy to fix in our generation. Anyways, let's continue on. You did very good, yes. I'm actually quite proud. It's quite innovative the way you thought. No, you did good. And this is just what we'll be analysing. It's as simple as that. You'll just be analysing the poems in this book, the letters. You'll be analysing what they mean to you, but also what they mean in general. It's not too difficult to do. They'll print it out at a lot bigger scale, certain poems that they want you to study for the exam. Yes. Anyways. Retention, I believe is how they pronounce it, was a Dickinson characteristic, and most of what we know or surmise about Emily's emotional life comes by interference from her poems and letters. Sometime during her 20s, she had begun seriously to write poetry, just when cannot be known because her early poems were destroyed or are unidentifiable as such. By 1858, she was copying her poems in ink and gathering them together in little packets loosely bound by thread. In that year, she appears to have written 52 poems. In 1862, there was an next page. Astonishing total of 356. In 1865, the number had fallen off the 85 and thereafter averaged about 20 a year. The fuse that had torched off the creativity explosion of the early 60s appears to have been a Philadelphia clergyman, Charles Wadsworth, 41 years old, a husband and father with Emily Dickinson, met him in May 1855, while on her way home from a visit to her father in Washington. Correspondence must have followed since drafts of 3 letters to him, letters pathetically eager and pleading, in which the writer calls herself Daisy. It's getting quite dark in here, isn't it? It's already getting quite late. I thought we would have had more time, I won't lie. I've already come quite far on this, haven't we? I'm already exhausted, I won't lie. Let's try to get to the end of this page and then we can continue off. Where was I? I think I completely lost it. Calls herself Daisy, and the recipient Master. We found among Emily Dickinson's papers after her death, Wadsworth responded to or was alarmed by the intensity of the emotion he inspired, as evidenced by these drafts and by certain of her poems cannot be determined since his letters were destroyed, but it is known that the called on her in 1860 while visiting a friend in nearby Northampton, and it is conjectured that sometime during the following year he had told her that soon he would have left the land, having accepted a call to a church in San Francisco. The shock of the separation may account for the prodigious output of 1862. I had a terror in September. Oh, this is another one of her poems. I had a terror in September. I could tell to none. She wrote in that year. And so I sing as the boy does by the burning ground because I am afraid. What does that tell you? Think about the line, the first one specifically. I had a terror since September. I could not tell to none. And so I sing as the boy does by the burying ground because I am afraid. You think about it. Something, I believe it was when he cut off contact with her. She was terrified. Because she had grown such an attachment towards him that she didn't know any other way to live without hearing him. And this is the loss to which the last two lines of the poem quoted above must refer. Angels, twice descending, reimburse my store. Burglar, banker, father, I am poor once more. What do you think she means by that? Well, what does it mean to reimburse someone? You're getting a hang of it. Good job. She was a very strong poet. Her words really do show such light, such a desperation in them, such heartbreak. But it kind of just reminds you of everyday life. We all experience such heartbreak and such pain. Everyone goes about it differently in how they handle it. Anyways, we're a good bit in. How about I call it quits here? You look exhausted. Of course. Okay, go in and sleep. Go rest up a bit. I know. Tomorrow, would you be interested? I know I'm not the best at reading out loud, but I mean, if you would be interested, I'll try do better for you, I suppose. I mean, you're perfectly fine to read on without me. We can catch up somewhere else in a page, I don't mind. Okay, well, that's pretty great. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night, okay? Oh, what, sorry? You want to go out for dinner as well tomorrow? I don't mind. I would love to. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.